Yes, yes. And there's a special guest here, as you can see.
Yes, and hey, that's mom life. We have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We didn't decide on who was gonna lead what, but we're just saying hello to you guys. And thank you for joining our first mom, girls chat, wife chat, all of that. So we're gonna talk about each other, talk about ourselves. So what I'm gonna do is, do you want to go first, Sabine, or you need me to take on whichever one? Because you're the one with the baby right now, so whatever's comfortable.
Yes, actually,
I'm,
yeah, that's right. Let's whatever time I have,
uh-huh.
while I'm calm, I will take advantage of it.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, I'm Sabine Diame, and so I am a mental health advocate, and what that simply means is that I have a heart for mental health. I have a background in law enforcement, where I trained as a crisis intervention officer. And, I responded to crisis situations and things like that. And that's kind of where I found my passion for mental health. And when I transitioned from law enforcement, I said, I want to be a part of this, this movement to help others in time of need and crisis and whatever it is, because I've had my moments, and, I was fortunate enough to have people who had a heart like I did for mental health, and they helped me along the way. So, yeah, so that's my thing. And you can, we'll put all the links and everything so that we all can stay connected. I'm a mommy, I'm a wife, and a woman of many passions. So there it is.
Outstanding. Thank you for sharing your life's path and what you do now. As for me, some of you already know, but we're going to treat this as if it's just a bunch of strangers who don't know either of us. I am Maxine Reyes. I am a 22-year Army and Air Force veteran, originally born in Jamaica, and I now reside in the state of Florida. I am also a wife and a mom of a 14-year-old. I help women who are transitioning from the military to ignite their confidence in pursuing whatever passions they have, and also help with relationship resiliency. So that means anyone who has any relationship issues, whether it's personal with friends, family members, or spouse, I can definitely help with that. I am a certified marriage and relationships coach, and I love helping people in strengthening their marriages and also strengthen their relationship with others. Oh, I'm a speaker as well and a singer. So that's my after military life. This is how I am living my life now, and I've actually been asked to help women in gaining their confidence in performing on stage or presenting on stage, because that's something I I've earned, the right to say, hey, I am now an expert in being on stage and presenting myself in front of a large audience or a small audience, because of my many years of helping myself by putting myself out there on stage, because I was not confident in being on stage before, because I was shy and used to be scared. I used to be scared to do this, but now after doing it so many times, I still get a little anxious, but that's a natural thing because you want to do well. But otherwise, people come to me and ask, "Hey, how can I do that on stage?" The grace, and you create that um, connection or the connectivity with an audience. All right. Before we move on, Sabine, whoever is on here, if you can please say hello in the chat. Just make sure that you're engaging with us or just listening. But please type in questions if you have questions, if you're curious about something, or if you would have loved to see us cover something while we're here today, but it didn't happen. Feel free to ask that question and to pose that suggestion for us to cover another topic at another time, because we're going to be doing this every week, and we're going to talk about different topics, and we may do it even more if we feel the urge to do it twice a week. Just whenever we are able to do it, we will jump on and take care of that. So please comment. We won't know if you're here if you're not commenting. So if you have joined us, please let us know that you're here, even just to say hello if you don't have any questions. Thank you so much. So Sabine stepped away for a little bit. I'm going to improvise. She has the baby, and I think it's the baby's bedtime. So, what I'm going to do is talk about my song that's out today. It's a song that I've been wanting to write holiday songs, holiday music, because every year we listen to all these different artists and they're performing their songs. And I'm a singer as well. And my husband has always told me, babe, you should have your own Christmas songs or your own holiday music, because we listen to all these people all the time and they're amazing. But I want to contribute to the arts as well as us, the songwriting part of it. So my daughter, my husband, and I drove to Atlanta to work with a producer, Chris Davis, up there, and we created several holiday songs, several Christmas songs. And today we released our first one. Actually, yesterday, December 1st, we released our first one, and it's called Mistletoe, that I did with my daughter. I had a chat earlier on today with her on her page, on her YouTube channel. So check her out when you get a chance. It's Victoria Reyes Art. Don't go now because we got to finish up here. But when you're done, please go in there and follow her, and so you can see that chat. I think he'll post tomorrow, like within 24 hours. It's our first time doing it today, so it's not out as yet, but it should publish in 24 hours. All right, so Tally is tuned in. Hey, Tally. I told Tally last minute that I was going to be on talking to my friend, and he joined us. So thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you joining. Feel free to pose any questions to us, okay? I don't know if you were here earlier, if you heard, but Sabine already talked about herself, and now that she's back, I can stop improvising.
So,
Okay, so I'll have you take over, Sabine.
well, I was just thinking, so I wanted to share really two facts,
Mhm.
right? So, two fun facts. So, one fact is that my very first live anything, right, live on social media was with Maxine. Maxine is the one
Oh wow! I just pulled
that,
the brains out of all of us, huh?
yeah, she is the one who invited me on. You had an episode where you were talking about relationships, and you had recently found out that my husband and I had met online, and
Yeah.
we had
Jamaicans.com, right? I think it was on
what?
Jamaicans.com. Was it my show
Yes,
on Jamaicans.com?
right,
Okay.
right, and it was such an awesome time. I think I would have never thought that I could stay on. I love to talk, y'all, but to stay on live as much as the nerves can get to me, it was an amazing time. And so that's a fun fact. And then also just thinking, we actually met between or amongst mutual friends.
Mhm.
So her high school friends that I grew up with, in
Mhm.
church, they were, holding different events for women. And that's how we met and realized that we had similar backgrounds and just remained in contact ever since. Okay.
Yeah. And and it probably our relationship has I would say flourished because of that foundation of having amazing girlfriends that you grew up with and I went to high school with, so that's sort of growing up with them as well. Natalie and Natasha,
Mm,
they're twins. Unfortunately, Natalie passed between
right.
her, and so her sisters now events, but also does nonprofit work in memory of her as well. So
Yeah.
shout out to Natasha, and of course Natalie's family. We absolutely guys cherish you, and now you've had uh, mutual friends who are now really good friends, you and
Yeah.
I. So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
great, thanks for
Definitely.
bringing up that story. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say definitely shout out to the family, the Marks, and also their foundation in honor and memory of Natasha. We stand together.
Of
So,
Natalie,
what's that?
memory of Natalie, the one that passed.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes. 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 We
Yeah.
stand together, and Natasha is the president of the foundation.
Yes, yes.
So yeah,
Mhm.
and they're doing amazing work, like you mentioned. So that's just it's just was amazing to think about. Like, hey, where did this all begin? You
Yeah,
know.
it all began there.
Hmm.
Yeah, just I just came back from the Middle East, and she did a nice little presentation for me, thanking me for service. Do you
Oh,
remember?
yeah.
At that same event, yeah, same event.
That's
Yeah. So speaking of military service, I think you wanted me to go ahead and share about my time in the military, or maybe not my time, but I think you had sent me some things, but I honestly did not get to look at the questions. So let me pull up my notes. I had saved them in my notes, copied and pasted them. So you wanted to talk about um, highlight my background, and then my retirement. Talk about my retirement, being an entrepreneur. Wait. The military. How the military has shaped my views and career, and my personal life and balance. Oh my. So we talked about 22 years in the military, how it has shaped my life. I mean, that's all I've known. All of my adult life I spent in there, even with my relationship with my husband and my family. It all started in the military, you know. And I met my husband in the military decades ago. Said decades ago. Literally, there are 2 decades in that time period. Oh my goodness. And I'm still so young. It's amazing. I must have started this journey at 7. But yeah, I met my husband there. So our foundation with our relationship and how we go about life really started with us being in the military. And so I would say that my it shaped my view on career is really sticking with it, sticking it out, because there were times, people may not have known that there were times that I wanted to throw in the towel. And it wasn't really about quitting, it was about moving forward with other dreams and other passions without the military. But I saw the benefits of staying in long term. And as rough as it may have been during those times when I felt like, you know what, I'm just gonna say bye, y'all, because we're I was being treated like I was just a social security number. And so I felt that at the time they didn't deserve me, my talents, my skills, and my presence. But when it's all said and done, any organization is made up of people. The organization itself is amazing, and so it's the people that makes it, people, the leaders that are there. And if they're not behaving to the standard of what that organization sets, then I know I need to be that standard and
Mm.
show them how it should be done. And so yeah, in many cases where they're outright me, I just had to be that bigger, that better leader. And that's what has helped me to stick it out. And most importantly is what I have planned, or what I had planned for my daughter, because we
Mhm.
go through life starting off to do things for us, but then we create these little ones, and it no longer is about us. It's now about them and what kind of legacy we can create for them. And I can tell you this, if I didn't stick it out with the military, I would not have been able to have the freedom to do a lot of the things that I'm doing now.
Mhm.
And people look at me, some people, I've had conversations with them, and I can tell that they frown upon what I do now with my music and doing the non-traditional post-military activities.
Mhm.
They could care less about me trying to, not trying to, because I am doing it. They could care less about me writing songs, traveling here and there, performing with different people, because it's not something that they're interested in, or perhaps it is, but they're not happy for me living that dream. But it didn't happen overnight. I worked my butt off to come here, to be where I am right now. And I'm not even halfway to where I want to be, you know? So if they're hating now, what's going to happen when I really make it to where I feel I'm satisfied with where I am? Because, a lot of people, we're talking about, are we happy with where we are, or can we have it all? It's possible to have it all, but you set that standard. No one else does that for you. I mean, what do you think? What do you think of that?
I love it. So, talking about having it all. So I'm right here with the baby girl, and if you notice, she's quiet now because she's feeding. So it's just like a balancing act. I think is what this moment, even right now, teaching me that you can have it all. And we kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, where it's more like you have to be clear on what all is to you.
Yes.
Oh, so what is your definition or your standard for success? And all can be for some people just to have a happy home, or there's so many variations, and so many ways that this all can look like. But I
Right.
think, oh, geez, I
You're
think that
fine. You're
I
fine.
think that
No
we
tatas shown. No tatas shown.
yes, I think that we're similar in that way that so I moved on from law enforcement, but when I was in law enforcement, I remember the days when I would be coming back from an audition, for whatever it is, a play or something like that, or on the way to something, because I had, similar dreams. Singing is not my ministry, and not that it needs to be.
Right. Right.
but I've had, interest in acting, and now even speaking, and all those things. And in a lot of ways, looking back now, those were the things that kept me sane. Those dreams, they kept me sane during those years where it was tough and you were met with opposition, resistance, from colleagues and even superiors who, like you said, frowned upon, and I will tell you, in the time that I was in law enforcement, I didn't necessarily make it known about these dreams, but then people start to talk. Maybe one person sees something going on social media and they share, and
Mhm.
then eventually people get to know. But yeah, I think that me, and being who I am, as far as, like the mental health aspect, I think it's very important, like you said, that women and everyone, find your passions and move forward with that, because you don't know where it might take you. Um,
Precisely. Mhm.
so yeah, that's my take. Sure.
And you touched on having colleagues, not having them, but they sharing your information that you have on social media. I never hid what I loved to do. I always did my best, and I understand why you did it.
Yes.
But that's something that I felt it's a part of me. Like y'all use me when you know that I sing. You have me singing
Mm,
at every event that you wanted, and I did it for free of cost,
right.
for several years. So why are you hating on me when I want to take it to the next level? Because you yourself used me at every opportunity you had. I was emceeing military galas or military balls. I was singing at all of them. I was singing at promotion ceremonies, retirement ceremonies, um, anything with dignitaries that came to the installation. If the military band isn't playing the anthem, myself or other persons were singing the anthem. And when I got quite popular, when it came to singing the anthem, I was being requested quite often, and it was no problem. So why was it a problem when I started doing it for professional sports games? You know,
Mhm.
and people started noticing me and giving me accolades. Then it became a problem with some people, even superior. You
Wow.
know, and I was teased about it. Even in professional meetings, I would show up and I was called out. Ooh, it's Maxine, the anthem singing. Oh, sick! And they start like making fun of me. At the time, it wasn't funny. I didn't find it funny. And I sort of ignored it
Right.
because I didn't want to show how hurt I was.
Hmm.
But I was hurt when they were making fun of me, you know? And later on, I shared with friends and even my husband. It's like when people see that you are shining, you're that bright star,
Right.
they don't want to admit that you bring joy to people's life just being around them and being positive and doing amazing things and fulfilling your passions. They don't like to see that. But for anyone who's watching now, you have something that others wish they had, or you do something that others wish they could do. And so they may react differently towards you, but do not take that on. Okay, it's not you, it's them. Continue to be you authentically, and they will either come around or they will remove themselves from your space. And guess what? It's okay. It's okay.
You know, as you were saying that, I was thinking of a conversation that I had recently with another veteran as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
She retired from the Air Force,
Okay.
and she's also an influencer uh,
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
many years. She's been an influencer for many years, and you know, she talked about how and the reason why I'm saying this, not necessarily because of the military, but we were having this conversation about where the landscape is in terms of content creation and influencing, right? And
Mhm.
she said when she began, it was like fairly new in the early 2010s, right? And
Yep.
she just kind of created an avenue for herself because she didn't see anyone who looked like her who wanted to do or was doing what she was looking for, which was, you know, curvy women, specifically black women, black curvy women who were putting out content for, like work attire, workwear. She was looking for that and she really couldn't find it. And so she said, you know what, I'll create it myself. And she said, this was a natural extension of who she already was. She was already known as that girl,
Right.
who could dress and everything. And she was saying how, it's funny where content creation is now because people are trying to fit themselves into places or spaces that they are m- may not be the best fit. I won't say that they don't belong, but they may not be the
Mhm.
best fit for it. But because
Right.
it's shiny, they're trying to create a look or a feel that doesn't
Mhm.
come natural to them. And
Or an environment. Yeah.
right. And she was saying, this is me. I was always that person. And now I just put it on camera. And so the reason why I said that is because, you talked about, your singing and how that brought people joy. But that was something that you were doing before the military, right? That was
Right.
something that came natural to you already. And so,
Yes.
like, I have this platform, let me use my gift, my God given gift to
Mhm.
bless others. And so while we all can develop gifts and we all can have maybe hidden talents that can be developed over time, I think there's a lot to say about, when you're just your authentic self and you show up, in these spaces online, in a sporting event, and you can show those talents and be who you were meant to be. It's another level of impact, I
Right.
feel. And that's
And it's
what,
a positive
yeah,
impact, not negative.
right,
Um, I absolutely agree. And because you mentioned, showing up, doing what you love, and still at the time, well, I was in uniform a lot. I was requested to be in uniform a lot. And is that a negative impact on the military? Absolutely not. It's
right,
positive. There are young people who want to be artists, right? They're naturally artists, but they don't have the funds to go to college.
right,
They don't have the funds to travel the world, although the military takes us to some places that we don't want to go to naturally, but we go anyways. But I'm grateful that I was able to see some places in the Middle East, because of the military. So these young people are looking for education, travel, to be amongst other people who have similar, desires of for careers, which brought me my husband in uniform, which is a good thing, and other men and women who I call sisters and brothers now. So they're looking for that type of community in the military. Now, weren't, if they didn't see me or others who perform in uniform as that example that, oh, she did that, she does that in the military, and then she's singing as well, and she looks like she's got it all together and whatever, they would not have say, let me go to a recruiter to join the military. I am pretty sure because there's so many parents who reach out to me on Facebook until this day, and I've been retired from the military for 5 years now. they reach out to me asking me, how can my son join the military? What do I need to do? What were your experiences as a woman in the military? What were your experiences as a black woman in the military, a woman of color in the military, as an immigrant in the military? So yes, those who didn't see it as a positive thing, there are others who sees it as, wow, my daughter, my son could be just like her because she's from the Caribbean, she's an immigrant, she's brown skin, she's talented, that she's a performing artist, she's done modeling, whatever it is, you can still be serving in whatever organization you wish to, because there's someone else out there who has done it as well. So
Yes.
yeah.
I love that. I that takes me to a memory that I have early years in law enforcement. So after so you do similar to the military, you do the academy, right? And it's a
Mhm.
certain period of time, and then once you graduate, at least with my department at the time, you graduate and then you're assigned to three different officers over the course of the next few months to ride with them, and we call those officers FTOs, field training officers.
Okay.
So if you ever watch Training Day, for instance,
Hmm.
Denzel's character would be, you know, to basically a training officer, someone acclimates you to the role, to the position of law enforcement. And so I had a field training officer who once told me, you know, we're going into some of the I wouldn't say, you know, some areas in the city of Miami, which is where I worked.
Hmm.
You know, people here are disadvantaged. They don't have maybe some of the resources that a lot of other people have. And so when they see you, you're like a beacon of hope to them. You know, so always, you know, remember that, you know, when you're coming into certain neighborhoods, especially me being of Haitian, and
And speaking the language as well.
as you can see here, I'm wearing my Haitian creative, right?
Yeah,
My
that's
yeah, you know, even yourself being of Haitian background, and I was born here, but I would always remember, and he reinforced that idea that like you have to be proud and use again. You know, we talk about platforms like as being online, but even
Mhm.
the work, you know, use the law enforcement, the platform of law enforcement as a way to reach others and, you know, to let them know, hey, I'm Haitian American and I'm doing this great thing and you can do it too.
Right.
You know, and you can inspire people just in that, even if it's not in a huge way. You can inspire people just in the daily encounters that you have. So
Right.
yeah, it always kind of tickles me when I hear of these stories of, you know, colleagues and even superiors, like you say, like you said, who take issue with you just shining your light. And I hope that again, like anybody who's listening, that you take this as a sign to keep moving forward regardless of the resistance.
Yeah. That's a great point, and I appreciate you sharing your personal experience with us, because we don't know until we share that, hey, we've been there as well. People, I think people respect persons who have been in certain situations as them, more than someone who will talk about it but they've never been in that situation. So thanks for sharing that. What would you say that, in balancing personal and professional life, what are some of the strategies that you use to manage your career as an officer, police officer, and family and personal interests? How did you balance?
Mm. So I think you kind of touched on this with the singing at the events, right?
Mm.
So I would find ways, or you know, just like for instance, the mental health piece. So and even growing up, I was very involved with my church, and I had along with the mental health, I had a drive to guide, you know, the young people, the children. I was a part of the children's ministry, and so I, in that sense too, I wanted to stay connected with that. And I remember there was an opportunity that came up where we could mentor young girls in the community, and their organization, Girl Power of Miami. And so I think it's just always looking for opportunities to tap into those things again that come natural to you. And
Hmm.
that way you can be on the job, but still fulfilling while you're on the job, still fulfilling some of those things that are close to your heart. And then, but then when you're off, also take into account that you're at work much of the day. You sometimes spend more time at work than you do even with your loved ones, or even at home. And so when you're off, it's important to just shut it down, and allow that time to be, undivided attention for your loved ones, for your family. Like right now, me being a wife and having two kids, that take up a lot of times, um, a lot of my time. But I have to be, I have to always be aware of, like, they need mommy, and my husband needs his wife, and if I'm going to bring the attention or whatever is going to work home, then it's like it's never ending, and that's why that home life or work life balance is such a conversation, because
Hmm.
it off, especially with those that work from home. And there's been times, and even now, where I've had the opportunity to work from home, and you have to set those boundaries for yourself, or else it's going to just bleed into everything. And then there's like no real, start and stop when it comes to, the different aspects or of yourself or the hats that you wear. So, I think I'm always trying to figure it out, really. I
Hmm.
take it day by day. I take it day by day, but I think, and just trying to draw those clear boundaries. Um, like at 5 I'm off, and so I won't let myself go beyond maybe 5:30 to check an email, to do my very last task.
Time
And
management.
right, right, which is it's an ongoing struggle, but
Yeah.
you we got to constantly readjust and set those priorities. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. I appreciate that. So it shows that we have a couple people on. If you're just joining us, we would love for you to comment. And if you have any questions for us, like specific questions for either of us, feel free to comment in the comment box, and we'll definitely get to see it. Okay. Tally, I know you've been on for a little bit. Do you
Mhm.
have any questions for either of us? I'm just looking at the time and it says we've been on for 32 minutes. So I don't
So
know what's the
quickly,
huh?
the time flies when you're on here. It goes by
Yeah,
so fast.
I can tell. So what I want to do is just see if we get a question before we move on to I would definitely do there's a Q&A we can do which we're waiting on, but if not then we can close out and then save any other questions for the future. I'm not used to YouTube, so I don't know what's normal, what's average. I've done it in the past, but recently I don't know what's average because I want to make sure that people, are not on here forever unless I'm giving out um, step by step
Mhm.
information or tips or something like that. So since we're just chatting today, and yes, they may get a few nuggets, as they say, from either one of us, but I would love for us to just keep it tight and short as much as possible, and we can just carry on midweek with the rest of it.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. So is there anything else you would like to say since no one's asking us any questions?
Hmm.
Any
Uh,
any final thoughts?
any final thoughts? So let's see. Let's see. I'm just actually going through. You actually, what I would love to talk about, because right, we were talking about having it all,
Yeah.
and that you met your husband in the military.
Yeah.
uh, how was it? Because you both were in the military, is why I'm
Yeah.
asking the question.
Mhm.
How was it to balance? You just asked me a similar question about balancing work and life, but with
Yeah.
being in the military, how was it in balancing work and life, being that you both were married and doing the same work?
Right. It was not easy. and I can share how we balanced it. And I wouldn't even say balance because it was hard to balance. I would say how we prioritized
Okay.
our career and our marriage, because they were both important to us, because
Mhm.
we wanted to get promoted and move up in the ranks, and we also wanted to ensure that we took care of each other. So the main thing I would say is, when it comes to, one example is being assigned at a certain installation. Sometimes we can get assigned together, and sometimes we can get assigned apart. Like the last 5 years of our career, of my time in the military, we lived apart. We did not live in the same household. And so finding time to see each other, to visit each other, that was something that we decided, you know what, we're going to spend the money on it. The military did not pay for us to see each other. We had to invest in that. So it's really investing our time and our money into what was important to us, which was our marriage. And raising our child long distance, that was another balance, that another thing that we had to prioritize as well, ensuring that she got equal time with us. So whenever we lived apart, due to geographically, because of the military, if he wasn't in a certain school where he couldn't have a child around, then he would have her for part of the time, and then she would be with me part of the time, because we he knows how it is, for a mom to be away from her child. So he was like, babe, you have priority, but I would love for our daughter to stay with me as well. So let's see which time of the year would be best. Like one time I was in Texas, she was supposed to be with me the first 6 months, but I ended up having to train for a deployment. So I had to take her to Hawaii because he couldn't be with her at the time, or she couldn't be with him at the time. He was in one of those schools. So without childcare, you have to ensure that your child is in a safe place, because you don't have childcare at home. And so we brought her to Hawaii. Actually, I brought her to Hawaii to be with her uncle and his wife and two kids, two girls who are my daughter's age. And she was with them for 6 months there. She missed us like crazy, because we parent differently, which we can go into another conversation with that. But she was in a safe space, a safe place, with family. And when she came back to the United States, we missed her so much that my husband moved from that job that he couldn't have her at, and he was in North Carolina for the next assignment. So he went to Hawaii to pick her up, brought her to spend the holidays with me, and then she finished up school in Texas that time. And before I had to leave, because I had some things I needed to take care of, which it was easier for him to take care of her. So he came to pick her up from my house, or I brought her to North Carolina. I don't remember. It's been so many back and forths.
Wow.
So she went to North Carolina to be with him, because he was at an assignment where he couldn't be, he'll have her at home after school. We had friends there in North Carolina where she could stay. They could get her hair done and all that stuff, because it was a challenge for him to do that big amount of hair. So yeah, so that's how we balance it. We made sure that we were involved in her life, we're involved in seeing each other, and then prioritize assignments when it came to our career. If it was time for us both to move, we would choose on who gets which assignment, or like who gets priority with that assignment.
Mm.
So if he was to go to a position in Kansas City, where if he takes that position, that means he'll possibly get promoted sooner than later. Then I'm going to put my career on hold. When I say on hold, I would not choose the place that I would get advanced faster. It would be his turn. So we made sure, because I'm the artist, and I was like, you know what? If anything, worst case scenario, I'll just clock out. You know what I mean? So we had that expectation management, which is big in in our marriage. We had that
Mhm.
expectation that, hey, he's going to be the priority, by our agreement. That if
Yeah.
an assignment comes where we have to choose who would get that assignment, or who should take that assignment because of career progression, then it would be his. So we make those decisions prior to the military giving us those assignments. So we're like, okay, that's you, because if you go to that position, since you haven't had that in the past, this is going to look good on your next promotion.
Like
Yeah.
that.
Hi, Marshallie. Marshallie says she's just joining us. Marshally, we've been talking about our life as mom, wife, and career women, or women with careers. I don't want to be career woman for the rest of my life, so let's just say women with careers. And so Marshally is a long time friend of mine from. Is that elementary school? Yeah, in America, it's called elementary school. We're like 12 years old. So she's like a long time friend of mine. And she now, and we went to school in Jamaica together.
Oh, nice.
Yes, yes, my long time friend. All right, so I guess we're gonna stay on here a little bit longer because now we have a question. You wanna read what
Awesome.
Tally?
Yes, thank you, Tally Cook. So, Tally is saying, my question is for both of you. Would you encourage your children to join the military or law enforcement? So, I can start by saying,
Okay.
well, like for you, your daughter is 14, right? So you have a picture of what she wants to do. You have a picture of her personality, how she would fit in that space. My kids are very young,
Yeah.
but what I would say is based on my experience,
Hmm.
um, I I wouldn't discourage them from joining law enforcement, but I wouldn't be their biggest cheerleader either because I think that there's a lot of different ways to get to the same destination, that or dream that they may have.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of different reasons that led me to law enforcement. And it's a good place to be. There's benefits as well, very similar to the military. Um, but I think I would push them to see, well, do you have any other specific dreams? I feel like, yeah, as parents, you always want more for your kids,
Yeah.
for your children, and so I would say, probably not.
Yeah. And I get it. I get it.
Mhm.
And as someone who's done 22 years in the military and my husband did 25 years, I would not discourage her from joining if she wants to. And she said in the past that she would want to join the army. I've been in the Air Force and the army. Um, but my husband and I told her, listen, we joined so you don't have to. But
Right.
if you want to, we will support. And I think I'm gonna say this: anyone from the Army or Air Force who are watching, don't be mad at me. But the Coast Guard seem like they got it good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying. So yes, we would not discourage her from joining the military forces or the armed forces, but we would probably steer her into a different direction as far as which branch of service to join.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that question.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's a great question. Welcome home, my love. Hubby just came home.
nice.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a friend actually that was just, I thought, on your live. A friend that's asking to join the live. I mean, to catch us on here.
Okay. Yeah, she can. Hey, baby. Bushman. I love you. Hubby just came in. He was at a speaking engagement,
Nice.
out of state, so he just flew in. Yeah, but Marshally, do you have any question for us? Is your friend gonna does your friend have any question for us?
Yes, let me.
So she doesn't know how to join on LinkedIn. I mean, on YouTube.
I think she's trying to get on now.
Okay, okay. Awesome. But Tally, that was a great question. I really appreciate you asking that. And it's a question that I've gotten multiple times. And I have the same answer. The same answer. So yeah, it's not something that we would discourage, but we feel that we have provided her with the resources that she has now, and she has access to certain things, thankfully, because of our experience with the military. And so we would not want to her to feel like it's something she has to do. But if she is adamant about doing so, we would not discourage her from doing it. We would just lead her in the right direction and get her the proper mentorship, which she is getting now pre-military if she was to join. But really, she's getting leadership, life leadership, period. Just life skills and learning the things that she needs to survive and to thrive outside of our home. She's homeschooling now, and in the very beginning, it was hard for her to get like all her assignments in on time, or for her to focus on getting them done. And so we would deprive her of certain things like her iPad and, luxury things that she doesn't need, and just really tell her, hey, you have to start now. This is an opportunity for you to learn independence and how to work independently and manage your time. And so when you get to go to high school, you already know what to do. And by the time you finish high school, college is going to be like too easy, because you already know, hey, my assignment is due. I need to submit 2 assignments each week to each class. And so I need to allot certain times of the day to do each subject. And voila, she's doing very well right now as a homeschooler. So, yeah.
That is awesome. You're instilling discipline at an early age.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you have to. It was instilled in me at an early age, so that's how I was able to, I would say, thrive in a military environment, because I already know, hey, tough it out, mama. Growing up in the countryside of Jamaica with my great grandmother, she was a tough cookie, as they would say. She showed love in differently, but she definitely gave me a lot of wisdom, and I was able to use that. And she instilled discipline in me, so I was able to use that in my military career and now in my life. So, because that's all I've known.
So we had, and I think she's still here, Eileen, a friend of
Mhm.
mine.
Welcome, Eileen.
Eileen, if you can just, or whoever has
Mhm.
joined us, because we're now up one. If you want to just drop a question or say hello, we'd love to we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and also, if you don't have a question that you think is appropriate for our open chat right now, which honestly anything is appropriate right now. We were gonna stop at 30 minutes, but since we have 15 more minutes to the actually to the, well 15 more minutes to top it off for 1 hour, we can go that long. But then we have to stop right there because we don't want to overwhelm people with our first chat. But I saw that, okay, there Marshall has a question. Says, what was the main thing that kept you grounded while embarking on such a time consuming career? So you missed that in the very beginning, Marshall. We did talk about that. I'll cover it real quickly. It's really doing our passions, things that we're passionate about. Whether it's, for me, it was music, and talking to my family via the phone. Um, those were the main things. You know, what helped me as well was going to school. you know I went to school online, and that was my way of self development outside of the military, because I always saw myself, hey, this is what I want to be doing when I finish the military. Now I did not get good mentorship as far as what degrees to focus on, because now I find myself like starting from scratch, because I had experience as a leader in the military, taking on multiple leadership roles as a commander, 2 times, and other leadership roles. But I should not have done a master's in management and leadership, because I already had an undergrad plus
Uh,
military. I should have done marketing, or counseling and therapy, or something in the arts. You know, that's relevant to what I'm doing now. I think marketing would have been excellent,
oh
or
yeah.
public relations, but because I love PR, I love public relations, I love journalism, I love chatting like we're doing now. So I think it would have been great if I had studied that instead of the leadership, doing leadership. So those things kept me grounded. Is
Yeah.
really focusing on what's after this, and then my faith, using my faith and things that I've learned from I was a kid, like my values, um things that my great grandmother taught me and my parents have taught me, and things that I know were important to my husband and I. Those things kept me grounded. But overall, my faith, the teachings you know of the Bible,
Mm.
as much as I felt that a lot of things were relevant to what my life was going on, and I needed a safe space. And so the word has helped me and helped keep me grounded as well. Yeah.
I love that. So before we get into Eileen, well, Self Caring Girls Club, before
Hmm.
we get into her question, I do want to touch on what you said because oh my goodness, Maxine, I love that you mentioned faith number one, right? Because, like I said, I was able to meet you because of the ladies that I grew up with, and we grew up in church together. So faith is definitely big, and I think it's big for a lot of us who come from the Caribbean or have family from the Caribbean. Faith is definitely, it tends to be something that helps ground us all. So but there was faith, and then you also mentioned school.
Hmm.
And the thing that is so unique for me, I feel, in military and paramilitary, law enforcement, is that because the minimum criteria is a high school diploma, there's this idea that, well, everyone who's in the military or in law enforcement is uneducated, right?
Right. Just a GED or a high school diploma, not the case. Yeah.
Right. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, like, I want to break that stigma. And for the longest time, I felt like, and I remember I was going back to school, getting my bachelor's, going back, getting my master's. And I had a friend that told me, well, why are you doing all of this? You already have the job, you have a good paying job, and all these benefits. And I said, girl, you have no idea. It's about, like, fulfillment within
Mhm.
yourself. And school allowed that, and gave you, the space to do that. And then as you're learning and you're seeing that you can apply, certain principles to the workspace. You mentioned journalism. Well, my goal when I first got to the police department was to become the public information officer. So, in a sense, the face of the department. And for those of you who live or who are from South Florida, there's a very well-known PIO who is for the city of Miami, Delrish Moss. I remember when I was coming out of the military, I said, "I'm going to take your job." That was such a dream of mine, and so I ended up going to school and taking on journalism for a time because of that goal. And so those were the things that kept me encouraged, and, as you mentioned, grounded,
Mhm.
even in the times where things were a bit tough. I was like, okay, I have this goal in mind. And even though I'm not necessarily in journalism, some aspects of that is still, present in my life today. So,
Yeah.
so glad for that question. Thank you, Marshalee.
Yay.
So, so my good friend Eileen in the building, and she actually is under the name Self Caring Girls Club, and she asks, or she says, "Hello, ladies," and she said, "How do you both incorporate self care into your lifestyle?" So I'll let you take it away.
Let me take it away. Yeah, prioritizing self care is important. It's a part of my life, a part of my livelihood, because I did not do enough of that when I was in the military. I'm going to tell you straight up. I used to be scared to put myself first. It's not a thing we do in the military. Selfless service is a thing that is ingrained in our brains, and so even when you're tired, when you feel restless, you still gotta trot on. You still gotta do what is required of the job, and you don't really get to take care of you. And yes, they nowadays they're really promoting it, but I'm praying that the leaders of today in the military are really taking it seriously,
Mhm.
um, and know that that's what's leading to so many people committing suicide. And I'm saying this because I've seen it, I've experienced it, I've been down that road, down that dark hole
Mm,
where I'm just tired. I was just tired.
wow.
And I was not tired of living. I was tired of working without sleep.
Mm,
And ooh, I got goosebumps just by saying that because it was a horrible time. It was
mm,
a hard time, but you just keep moving and keep smiling because Maxine is known to be the most bright, smiley face around, and she's she always brings joy to people because she's always smiling. But behind that smile, there were tears. And a lot of people don't realize a lot of the dark places many of us leaders have gone through, because we push on and we drive on, and only because we were taught to, hey, suck it up and press on. And so you asked that question, but nowadays I'm making me that priority. I will nap. I will break down. I'll break out of places to go to the car to take a nap and then go back into a conference or something. I hate to be deprived of my sleep because so many years I've worked, even when I was deployed, 17, 18-hour shifts.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and when you finally get to sleep, there was a rocket or something that went off or going off, or then you got to get up and, and you're so tired and you have to like survive through so many things. And so, yeah, self care is important. And I have prioritized that a lot, recently over the years. And my husband, I'm grateful that he's encouraged me to just say, take time, stop doing all these things for all these people who don't care about you. They don't care if you drop dead, because then they just go on to use the next person. And I've realized that this world is quite selfish. A good portion of it is, not everyone, but a good portion of it is, they will use you, and then when you're of no use to them anymore, they just move on, or they think you're of no use to them because they've gotten what they need out of you. And so make sure that you too prioritize yourself, your rest, your self-care, and however way you feel is best for you to do it, just do it. I have different ways that I care for me, then I feel like I'm doing something good for me. And self-care looks different for everyone, and so just make sure you do what's right for you, what makes you feel good, and what brings you joy, what brings you rest and brings you, to be at ease or at peace.
Yes. Thank you for your response, and even for touching on um that dark but necessary conversation about suicide, because
Mhm,
back in September, I'm not sure if you caught it, but back in September is National Suicide Prevention Month, and I actually reached out to a friend of mine. He was in the Air Force as well,
mhm.
an Air Force veteran, and we had a live conversation all around suicide prevention, um, from the perspective of a veteran. And
Mhm.
he talked about many of the same things you just mentioned, and how, like, his transition from the military, it took him a few years, even, because what he said is that the general public, they are in, when you talk about like being on alert, he
Yeah,
was always on alert, and then like to learn that everyone else doesn't have that same sense of urgency that he had.
yeah,
And he was it's just it's a difficult thing to have to go through. And in general, we all kind of go through situations that may lead us to a dark place.
yeah,
And so self-care really helps to get to the issue before it grows into this big thing that overwhelms us, and we get to the point where we're having those deep dark thoughts. So
yeah,
for me, self-care, I'm finally getting to the place of surrender when it comes to having like a morning routine. I think I've I think I've neglected that for so long, and
yeah,
now, like, joining the 5 a.m. club, and like, of course, in law enforcement, you sometimes have early shifts. So if I had to wake up for work, of course I'm going to be there. But in terms of like making that a routine, that even on my day off, I'm waking up at an earlier hour, just to
mhm,
be productive. And productive doesn't have to mean working myself, to the bone, but like
mhm.
just making that time to maybe meditate or
Yeah.
have time with
Like
God.
me time.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it
Mhm.
takes waking up at 5 a.m. to do that, or even getting some reading in, whatever it is. I've realized the importance and the need to have that in my life. And I'm very grateful for that at this point.
Yeah. Good for
Especially
you.
mommy.
Especially with the kids around, you definitely need that time. And as you
Right.
said, being productive doesn't mean work. It's really being productive. Like for me, writing is therapy. It's therapeutic for
Yeah.
me. So me writing in my like chapters from my book or anything like that has helped me because then I feel like, oh, I did something for me today. Even though I'm writing tips for others or that others will use in the future, but it makes me feel good. And that take getting up a little bit earlier for that. Now I don't wake up early just because I kind of gotta wake up military time to match what happened in the military because I only do it when I feel like I'm rested. If I'm not rested enough to like have the energy to do stuff, I will sleep in. I take
Yes.
advantage of that nowadays. I will sleep in. But I do find that I'm more productive when I wake up a little bit earlier and I go to
Right.
the gym. If I can do the gym first, then I'm pretty good for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Honestly, around 4 p.m. or so, yeah, it's my nap time. Um, 3 and 4. But if I wake up early and I go to the gym and I have all my energy, I can get a lot done during the time when my body says, "Girl, go take a nap." Go take a nap. All right. So, any last thoughts? We're at the top of the hour. And we love the fact that people are coming in, leaving, and I say leaving because folks got stuff to do. But we appreciate you guys joining us, coming back on, and asking questions because that's what helps us to lead this conversation. We may come with questions already prepared or little pointers to talk about, little bullet points. But what's even more important is you guys asking the questions and we responding to them, sharing our work and life experiences. Okay. So this is our first chat. We are going to do it again. So if you just stay tuned on our social media or on here, I have to figure out how to announce, hey, we're going to be live on YouTube at whatever time. I have to figure out how to do that on YouTube. But otherwise, you guys are already following on Instagram, Maxine Reyes Live, and Sabine. You'll put yours in there as well. But go ahead and tell them where they can find you on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes, so it's the same name across all platforms. Sabine Dieme is Dieme. You'll see it in the links or in the description of this live.
Mhm.
And thank you again for the question. Thank you for being here. And Max actually was asking if there's any last questions, and Tally just added a question in the chat as well. So we can end off with that if you like.
Okay,
Um,
go ahead.
so it says, "What led you to the career in law enforcement and the military?"
Okay, you can
So
go
right
ahead.
there.
Mine is
So
quick.
so actually, it was interesting because some people have these dreams of becoming a law enforcement officer, and that definitely was not my story. But I had a Caribbean, I came from a Caribbean household, and there's those stellar careers, right? That all of the Caribbean, I think, and immigrant families love. Medicine is one of them, and I remember my mom specifically was like, "I would love for you to become a nurse," and I knew from a very young age I did not want to do that, and so because I didn't have my parents' blessing to do what I really wanted to do, I wanted to study business originally. Um, I went into nursing, but I was very unhappy. And I remember at some point someone who was working for the police department at that time was let me know that they were actually hiring for a position that I would have been qualified for. And so I went ahead and I applied, not even knowing what would happen. I started off as a civilian, and shortly after, not even a year later, I transferred into law enforcement, being around, the officers and seeing women officers who looked like me. I did ride alongs, and I said, you know what, this is something that I feel like I can do. And I was in law enforcement for a total of about 10 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm grateful for that time because I learned so much and was exposed to so much that I could share with others. And of course, like I said at the top of the hour, um, it was my training for crisis intervention, which led me to um, my passion of mental health. And so I'm grateful for the time that I spent in law enforcement and what have come because of it. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, it's a great question. And for me, I'll make it quick. I joined the military after I came from the Caribbean. I was born in the Caribbean, moved to Miami or South Florida. And then from there, I finished high school. Then I decided to join the military after some recruiters came to my high school, some Marine Corps recruiters. And I signed up with the Marine Corps delayed entry program with my best girlfriend at the time, Francine. And we both did the Marine Corps delayed entry program. She went off to boot camp first. And then she said, don't come to the Marine Corps, go to the Air Force. So I joined the Air Force instead of the Marine Corps. And that's how my military career started. And I started because I wanted a good career that I could use to use the skills on the outside when I was done. I also wanted to travel, and I know the military could bring me to different places. And of course, I wanted to get my education. I wanted my best being the first, to get my degree. So I did that for education, travel, find me a husband in uniform, which I did, and get skills that I could gain to use on the outside. And Irish said something about being okay. She retracted it, so I'm not gonna say it. I remember what she posted, but I won't say it just in case she didn't want everyone to know. But thank you guys so much for joining. Thanks for all the questions, and share this if you feel it's important for others to, get some information from it. If you feel someone can benefit from it, please do that as well. And feel free to ask some questions when you think of it, maybe later, maybe tomorrow. Come back in here in the chat and ask those questions, and we can answer on the next live. And I'm going to open this up because now I'm getting so many great ideas. If you're watching right now or you know someone that we should chat with, um, Sabine, you have your network, I have my network. So I can do another chat with someone else. If you have a topic that you'd like to chat with me about, Sabine could do another chat with with someone else as well on her social media, on her YouTube, and we can just keep this chat going. But Sabine and I know for sure we're going to be coming back together and doing future chats because we have a lot of things that we can talk about. Okay. Thank you guys so much. And the last thing I like to leave behind, do you have any phrase that you like to, or a quote that you'd like to give them before I do mine?
Well, I just like to say, we're healing all the time, right? Mental health, right? That's what I'm all about. And healing is something that um I like to encourage others to do. And you're never when it comes to healing, you're never arrived, right? Because we're constantly evolving, which means we're constantly healing different layers of ourselves. And so I just wanted to leave with you happy healing. That is all.
Amen. And for me, it's really, I love sharing the thing that helps me to live my best life every day, or my worst life, because some days are not the greatest. So I said, no matter what I do, I want to make sure I personally do it myself and encourage you to live your life with love, courage, grace, and gratitude. Okay? See you next time. One love.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again, Sabine.
You.
And so we're still on live, but I want to make sure that once I exit, it'll save. Will it? If I
Well,
hit X, will it save?
that I don't know, but you know what? I
Mm.
I see a link to share.
Okay, so we want to share.
Maybe if we share, it says
Copy. Create posts, and y'all could you feel free to hop off because we're now figuring out how to save this thing, because I say that because last time I tested it wasn't there. So just want to make sure. So we save highlight, and hopefully the video will be there. Okay, it says highlight saved to your channel as unlisted video up for the next 5 minutes. Okay, and all right, I'm gonna X out. Hopefully all that stuff has been saved, and we'll get to watch it later on. All right, guys, have a great one. Take care. Ciao. And you and your guests will no longer be live. Okay, we're gonna end stream.